Welcome back. This video is going to continue after our PHP upload one file. So this is actually going to be upload multiple files. We'll set it to use 5 uploads. It's basically minor modifications off of the last video. If you have not watched the last video, please stop and go back and watch it first, as I'm not going to go back over those. We started by, we have some folders that we set permissions on. We have our starter files that we started with. And we are going to move on to this section of uploading multiple files. We're going to take the files that we completed last time, we're going to copy and paste them, rename them, and then work on that. The code for it is not that extensive. It's essentially about the same length as the last video, and it's essentially the same code except for we're going to throw in a for loop and use some counter variables as we go through. And additionally, we're going to change this from one list item with a user file to be 5 different user files, and each of those have a different name with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there. So that'll become important as well, the 1 through 5 after the user file name there. So let's come back, and we've also got our page open here for this particular lab, and we're going to be working on upload multiple right here, which we don't have currently. It's going to go to upload2.php. We haven't created that. So we're going to come to Dreamweaver here, have it open. I've also got my folders open for this. Again is on my desktop. I'm going to work locally, and as I get to a spot where I want to test it on the server, I will drag and drop it over here to the server. So this is the web server view. So I'm going to work locally, and then as I get to a point where I want to upload it, I'll drag and drop it over. First thing I want to do is locally, this upload.php, I'm going to do a Control-C, Control-V, copy and paste that, and I'm going to change it to upload2.php. Same thing with do upload.php, Control-C, Control-V. So now I've got an upload2 and a do upload2. I'm going to grab those two files and drag and drop them onto Dreamweaver. So now we can see what we had at the end of the last video. Now I'm going to make some minor modifications. The title here, I'm going to add multiple. So all I've done is add a word there. Down here in the H1, I'm also going to add multiple. And that's for a visual reference as we use that menu from the first page is all. So we come down just a little bit. You'll see the action there goes to do upload. We want the action to go to do upload 2. So we're going to change that to be a 2. Likewise, this input type equal hidden, the value here is going to be upload2.php. And then as we move down here, we're going to do a copy and paste on these user files. And instead of having just one, we're going to make it have 5. So we're going to do a copy and then paste it 4 times. And as I go down through here, the title can stay the same, but 4 equals is going to become user file 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then as we move on across, type equal file stays the same. Name and ID, however, both have to change. They both have to have the 1 through 5. So I'm going to add 1 through 5 there, and I'll come back over here and add 1 through 5 there. So in 3 places we have made it user file 1 through user file 5 on the for equals, name equals, and ID equals. And that should be all that we need to modify here on this file. I'm going to do a Control S to save. I'm going to bring up my two folders, and I'm going to drag and drop upload to the server. I'll come back to the web browser. Now I should be able to click on this link, which brings me to here. We've got one more modification we've got to make. So we're going to have to push the CSS here to get that into the right location there. So we've got input type equals submit, ID equals upload file, and field set submit. Here we go. Field set pound submit, and let's change this top from a 240 to a 380. I'm going to save that there, and again that saved locally, so I'm going to have to drag and drop again. So I'll push this up onto the web server. I'll hit replace. Come back here and refresh. That looks much better. We've still got our same drop-down box from the last video, and these are going to do the exact same thing every time. So we'll leave that. I'm going to pause here just for a minute. So now we're going to look at the server-side code that's going to handle having 5 files upload. And there's not many changes here. It's not meant to be that much different. I just want to show you that you can very easily modify something to, instead of doing it just once, you can do multiple at a time. So we're going to change this to include a for loop. We still start with our session startup here. Our timeout is fine. We leave our if statement, that's our catch here. That's fine. But then we want to push this down for the moment. And also this counter here. Instead of having the counter there, I want to move the counter so that it's outside of the for loop that we're going to create. So I'll cut it and paste it up above. And I'll do a shift tab and get that over. Since this is a different file, instead of 24, I'm just going to make it a 54. Make that our starting point. Now everything from file extension on down through, let's see, bad file type down here. And we're going to have to include that. So all of that should get indented one time so that we can put a for loop around it. So I'm just going to do a tab there to push it over once, and I'm going to go ahead and create my for loop here. Now I went ahead and I made it have 5 places to upload. So in this solution, we're not going to make it so that it could be any number. We could maybe do that in the next video. Right now it's a little step, and that small step is just going from 1 to many. So in this, we're going to do a $i. This will create the $i, and we're going to set it equal to the number 1. And it's important that it starts at the number 1 and not 0. So we'll start it at the number 1, and we'll say as long as $i is less than the number 6. And then finally, we'll do a $i++, which will increment by 1. And then I will create my opening bracket, but this closing bracket here does not go there. It goes all the way down here. And there you can see them highlighted so that they match up, my opening bracket and my closing bracket. And that if-else structure should be wholly contained inside of there. I'm going to put some comments here to help us out. And I'll put end for loop. And here I'll put end if-else. So that'll help us identify those as we move forward. Again, here, if you add more input, then change this 6 to a different number. So if we go back to upload 2, instead of having 5 there, let's say that we had 7. So if we came and we copied and pasted this 2 more times, and these went 4, 5, 6, 7, then on this page you would have to come and change this from a 6 to an 8, because then you'd have 1 to 8. And again, it's important that it starts on 1 because we're going to append that number to the name that comes across. So you can adjust these 2 pages so that you can upload as many as you want. So now we've got a few places to make some small modifications on this page. The first thing is down at the bottom there's a header redirect, and instead of going to upload.php, let's go ahead and make that go to upload2.php, and the rest is going to be inside of this for loop. So the first thing is file extension. Well, now the names are no longer just user file. They're user file 1, user file 2, user file 3. So what we need to do is concatenate on that variable I. So we're going to do in between that double quote and that square bracket, we're going to do a concatenation $i. And so now this will effectively become user file. On the first time through, it'll be user file 1 name, and look for, this is the reverse character search. So it will look for the file extension off of user file 1, and the next time through it will be user file 2, and the next time through the loop it'll be user file 3. Now we've got a couple other places that we've got to do that again. Let's come down to the else, and here we've got file name equals, and again it's not just user file, it's $i. So now we've got that specific user file. The next line down, the same thing, $i. And as we move on down, we've got another one down here for user file. This is the copy command, which actually moves it from a temporary location on the web server into the final location on the web server, $i. And then there's one thing that's still missing. Before we can loop again, we've got to be able to increment the counter. So that counter increment is going to go inside of the else statement. Right here. So we'll increment the counter by 1. So what that does is the first one gets uploaded as we choose, let's say, fixtures from that drop-down list. It'll be fixtures 54. And then the next time through the loop it'll be fixtures 55, and the next time fixtures 56, 57, 58. So that counter, you don't see it, the only other place you see it is up here where we set it to 54. And again, this number would actually be pulled from the database rather than just manually writing that number there. You would want to do a selection from the database, find out how many of those images are already in the database. If there's 23 in there, then you know that there's 23, you need to add 1 to it, it becomes 24. and that becomes your starting number. So you don't just hard code this number, but this is supposed to be a simple exercise. So we've done this. Let's do a save and go ahead and push it up to the web server and make sure we don't have any errors. Do upload to is the file we need to push up. You'll see it appear there. Come back to our web browser. And now all we have to do is actually try it. Let me start by looking here, and in the upload folder I have some images. I'm going to go ahead and delete those images off the server. And now I'm going to choose 5 images from here, and I'll just move through these. It doesn't matter what they're called when I grab them here because that file name is going to get changed. You'll see they're just numbered 1 through 5 right now, but when they get to the server they will have a different file name. And hopefully we'll hit upload file. It's going to work for a little bit. It'll take a little longer because it's doing it 5 times, not just 1. And I see we've got some CSS that we've got to change there. But if we come back to our folder here, we have 5 images uploaded, furniture 54, 55, 56, 57, 58. So it worked perfectly. Let's go ahead and fix this CSS here. File successfully uploaded. So we've got to come back to upload to for that. So this is the page that we actually see. Let's see where that's at. Here's our session, div ID equals error message. Here's our error message, and let's move it to, we moved the last one. Let's move it top to 450. We'll save that. And now let's try it again. So I'm going to refresh this page. It's going to disappear because at the bottom of the page I tell it to disappear. This time I'm going to choose accessories. And I'm going to start with 7 and work backwards. Again, it doesn't matter that I'm choosing the same image as I did last time. It's going to be uploaded again with a different file name. Upload file. And, oh, I didn't drag and drop it from my desktop over. But let's go look. Over here, we should have 10 images now. And accessories went to the top, it alphabetized them. So accessories 54, 5, 6, 7, and somewhere in there. So let me drag and drop this. Back out here. Upload to. Push that file up and tell it to replace it. Let's come in here. Control A, delete. There we go. Let's refresh this page on the web server, and let's try fixtures. Upload file. There's our file successfully uploaded, and hopefully we've got 5 fixtures uploaded once again. So now it looks like everything's working like we'd expect it to. And that's going to complete our upload multiple example. So again, it's just a small step to take to go from one to several files. There's more that we can do to make it I guess more elegant, but for right now you've got a couple of different methods that you can go about uploading files. So that'll be it for this video.